Welcome to the Domain Name Wire podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Alleman, and this is episode number 562. Every year, I air a predictions episode of this podcast where people from around the industry talk about what surprised them during the most recent year and their predictions for the upcoming year. In December last year, I aired the 2025 episode with predictions from 22 people in the industry. With this being a major holiday week in the United States, and with the 2026 predictions episode coming out next month, I thought it would be a good time to revisit those predictions from a year ago to see what came true and what didn't. Now, I just re-listened to those predictions, and nobody predicted that Google would make such a drastic change to its AdSense for Domains program. And although a couple people discussed how the Trump administration would impact the economy and trade, I don't think anyone would have predicted the level of trade war and the impact this would have on the global economy and currencies, and how this impacts the domain business. There was, however, a lot of talk about Web3 and AI, and I imagine you'll hear that in the predictions for next year too. Before we get to the predictions, let's have a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor this week is Salve.com and its domain transfers. Transfer your domains to Salve and save. .com transfers are currently only $9.65, transfer.devs for $11.99, .ios for $44.99, and .org for only $10.52. And Salve doesn't raise your prices a lot when it comes time to renew them. Right now, .com domains renew for just $10.15. Start transferring your domains to Salve and saving money. Go to salve.com/DNW/transfer. That's sav.com/DNW/transfer. One quick pitch for Domain Name Wire. If you haven't downloaded the Domain Name Wire app, please give it a shot. You can go to dnw.com/Apple on your iPhone or iPad, or dnw.com/Android on your Android device. And I'd appreciate you leaving a positive review as well. All right, now let's hear what people predicted would happen this year in the domain industry.
Hi, this is Ron Jackson, editor and publisher at dnjournal.com. I think the biggest surprise in 24 was witnessing just how big the boom became in .ai aftermarket sales. The CCTLD for Anguilla has obvious utility for artificial intelligence-based sites, but to see so many skyrocket into the mid to high five-figure range and beyond has been mind-boggling, just like AI itself. While that was the biggest surprise to me, it also has to be a part of the 2025 predictions. I think .ai will remain strong, but trees don't grow to the sky. At some point, it will have to level off and the wave will likely recede, as we've seen with so many past adoptions of keywords, new GTLDs, and repurposed CCTLDs. Whether that will happen as soon as next year remains to be seen. In general, I think predictions this year are especially difficult with a new administration taking power in the U.S., with plans to change so many policies that could have a major impact on the economy. That's the joker in the deck, and I really have no idea what the result will be from the dramatic changes that appear to be coming in the months ahead. In any case, I wish all of you the happiest of holidays and a great new year.
Hi, this is Alan Shiflett, Senior Director of Product at GoDaddy. In 2024, we saw the continued surge of the .ai extension. By aftermarket dollar volume, .ai climbed from the 8th highest selling extension in 2022 to 5th in 2023, and now 3rd in 2024. I expect this momentum to continue, with .ai potentially overtaking .org in 2025 to become the second highest sales volume TLD after .com in the aftermarket. Looking ahead to 2025, I believe the domain aftermarket, particularly at the high end, will be well positioned for growth. With anticipated increases in startup investments, especially in AI, and continued strength in crypto, the industry is likely to see several record-breaking sales at the premium end of the market. These trends should reinforce the value of domains as a critical asset class for businesses and investors alike. The application of AI will create new opportunities by automating tasks that were previously manual, such as identifying the perfect domain, brokering deals, and managing large portfolios. One area to watch is how AI-driven changes to search engines could influence the role of domains. While the full impact remains uncertain, this shift has the potential to reshape how domains are used, valued, and integrated into the evolving digital ecosystem. Here's to a dynamic and exciting 2025 for the domain industry. Happy selling!
Hello, this is Zach Muskovich. I'm General Counsel to the Internet Commerce Association and a domain name lawyer. What surprised me in 2024? Well, one thing was how the domain name industry seems to be moving towards and coalescing around a bridging between so-called Web 2 and so-called Web 3. Back in 2023, I was thinking that this was going to be a greater conflict than it actually turned out to be. What we're seeing now is that Web 3 players see the value and the stability and security and protections of the so-called Web 2 domain name system and have realized that bridging between Web 2 and Web 3 is really the answer. So I think we're seeing the emergence of the industry coalescing around bridging technologies that will allow tokenization of domain names and ultimately potential use cases such as faster and better transfers and liquidity of domain names. And that leads to my prediction for 2025. I think that's one of the things we'll see. But the other thing that I really have to say is that I think we'll see the beginning of the UDRP Phase 2 review. So ICANN has promised to conduct a UDRP review, and they're calling that Phase 2 because Phase 1 dealt with other things. So this Phase 2 review should happen in 2025, towards the end of 2025, I would think, and I'm looking forward to that.
Hi, this is Krista Taylor with TLDs. Here are my top predictions for 2025. 1. AI-enhanced domain security will emerge, reducing phishing, DNS hacking, and fraudulent registrations. 2. The demise of third-party cookies and evolving privacy standards will drive the adoption of digital identity solutions. 3. Registrars will adopt AI-powered recommendations to offer personalized TLD bundles based on user behaviors and industry trends. 4. AI-driven analytics will enable registries to refine pricing, uncover new market segments, and improve domain search functionalities. 5. To counter cyber threats, TLD operators will embed advanced cybersecurity into DNS infrastructure, boosting resilience. 6. Quantum computing will begin challenging blockchain encryption, prompting blockchain TLDs to create solutions. 7. Geopolitical shifts will highlight digital sovereignty, potentially fragmenting the internet and reshaping global governance and trade. 8. GDPR updates will impose stricter AI transparency rules, requiring businesses to adopt explainable AI and adaptive data tracking. 9. TLD applicants will collaborate with tech innovators to integrate cutting-edge technologies, expanding the utility of TLDs. 10. Early 2025 outreach will spark excitement for the 2026 new GTLD round, emphasizing opportunities for innovation and encouraging diverse participation. As 2024 wraps up, all of us at TLDs wish you a joyful holiday season and a prosperous 2025.
My name is Matt Barry. I'm the Chief Executive of Escrow.com. Now, 2024 was an interesting year. I did expect to see a boom in secondary domain sales. We did see it ticking up. You've got to remember that domain sales follow venture capital investing, and the funds deployed by venture capitalists over the course of 24 did tick up a little bit, and we saw a corresponding uptick in the domain name volume. I do expect that now, with Trump in, that it does appear with Elon and everyone else, David Sachs on side with the new administration, it will be a golden age for builders and a golden age for startups and a golden age for venture capital. And as a result of that, I do think that this year coming up in 2025 will be the big year that we'll see a large uptick in domain valuation and volume by domains. I do expect a bit of a run on AI domains. .ai TLD has been doing pretty well and the volume there is increasing strongly. But I do think we also see some marquee valuations from artificial intelligence and more generalized .com domains. I think also over the course of 2025, we'll start to see more industry standards for domain valuations. And of course, Escrow is trying to achieve that by publishing a quarterly report where we track what's happening in the space. And ultimately, I do think that this is the new commercial real estate of the internet. And we're going to see all the structures and all the institutions that surround commercial real estate in the form of access to financing, real estate investment trusts, and so forth start to form. So I think it's going to be a pretty bright 2025. It's a bit of a golden age out there for builders and for America and for domains. Thank you.
Hello, this is Rick Schwartz, the Domain King. Let's face it, 2024 was a year filled with anxiety and uncertainty, both economic and especially political. It was something that couldn't be ignored, and it played a big role in business, especially during the last 6 months. During presidential election years, especially this one, projects are on hold, decisions are delayed, and business becomes paralyzed, waiting for the results. But I actually use that to my advantage. This is an exact example of an email that I would send out prior to the election during a negotiation. Quote, I would agree to that happening until November 5th, but I think you're going to see a huge turnaround in the economy in a few days. Let's be honest. Everyone knows one thing here, whether they say it or not, Trump is probably going to win by a landslide. And the day after the election, everything changes. Boom. There is huge money sitting on the sidelines, waiting, and it's going to be unleashed. Unquote. I told folks I would not sell or price anything before the election. I said this because if Trump wins, everything will change on a dime. Prediction made, reality happened. Do you think my prices will go down for 2025? Inquiries have skyrocketed. And as for 2025, the table is already set. There's going to be massive change, massive investment, and the power of the universe is about to be unleashed. What more can I say? It's going to be an historical and great year. So I wish everyone a great and successful 2025.
My name is Joe Udemy. I'm principal and founder of NameExperts.com. I've been in the domain brokerage world for about 16 years, mainly focused on .com premium domain names. 2024 was an interesting year. We saw an early start with lots of domain transactions. We were very busy in the first quarter of the year, and then it precipitously dropped down throughout the remainder of the year, mainly due to the economic conditions, the election cycle in the United States, as well as inflation certainly hurt domain name acquisitions throughout 2024 as the year progressed. Going into the fourth quarter, it looks like deals have continued to flatten out, with the higher end of the market seeming to be a stronger positioning than the lower end of the market. Looking forward into 2025, I would expect the market to continue to stay soft for the first quarter and then start to pick up as the year progresses once we get through the inauguration in the United States. Along with AI domains, things should continue to increase throughout the remainder of 2025.
Hi, this is Adam Eisner, Vice President of .ca and Registry Services at CIRA, the Canadian Internet Registration Authority. One thing that really caught my eye this year in 2024 was just how quickly cryptocurrency went from a fringe discussion to a staple in industry talks. Whether you're at trade shows, ICANN conferences, or even just a one-on-one meeting, it's a topic that's really hard to ignore. More and more people are jumping in, and funding is definitely flowing. It's clear that crypto is going to play a material role in the next round of new TLD applications, and that's going to open a number of new doors. Looking ahead to 2025, I think registries and registrars are going to keep rethinking how they market TLDs and drive adoption. The truth is, newer generations of internet users just don't use the web the way previous generations did. So, the big question is, how do we get them considering the true value of a good domain name? That one is still up for debate, and I think will create a whole new batch of new opportunities for not only next year, but the years beyond. Have a great 2025, and thanks to Andrew for having me on the show.
G'day, this is Jen Sale here, CEO of Evergreen.com and friendly interrogator at 10withjen.com. Reflecting on 2024, there weren't too many surprises for me. Just the domain industry doing what it does best, several 7- and 8-figure oneword.com sales, strong alt extension deals, we saw some M&A activity, and some promising new ventures. As the saying goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That said, one thing that has surprised me this year was our community. I've had the privilege of getting to know several of our members beyond the deals and debates. Did you know that strong workplace relationships can boost happiness by up to 50% and productivity by 400%? Even for solo entrepreneurs, meaningful connections truly pay off. It turns out being human isn't just great for the soul, it's good for business too. Looking ahead to 2025, I anticipate more consolidation in the space, potential portfolio exits, and growing traction for Web3 domains as crypto and blockchain continue to capture a wider audience. Broader shifts in global economy and politics will undoubtedly shape our industry in fascinating ways too. On a personal note, I'm really looking forward to the ICA event in January, possibly Dubai and Miami later in the year, fingers and toes crossed. And I sincerely cannot wait to get to know many more of you in around 10 minutes.
Hello, this is Mike Ambrose, the COO of XYZ, registry operator of .xyz and 34 new generic top-level domain endings. The thing that most surprised me in 2024 was the crypto comeback. I did not expect Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to reach new all-time highs this year, and that has created a surprise boon in new domain registrations. In 2025, I predict that AI will create more efficiencies in the workplace and production levels. I think more workers will figure out how to use AI in order to make their jobs more effective and produce a higher quality of work. I think that new domain extensions will continue to become more ubiquitous. I've been seeing more and more new domain endings in all forms of advertising, including radio, television, and even physical advertising. So look forward to the new year, and I wish you all a happy holidays from the team at XYZ. Take care.
Hi everyone, this is Tom Barrett from Encirca, calling you from Rockport, Massachusetts, and these are my predictions for the domain name industry in 2025. First of all, artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency will continue their upward trend. We expect that the U.S. government will back off from trying to regulate cryptocurrency. This means Bitcoin prices will go even higher. So what does this mean for the domain name industry? It means that it will spill over into non-fungible tokens, such as Web3 names for digital wallets. Web3 companies will be flush with cash, and so they will accelerate their efforts to onboard normal users to their various ecosystems. And we think that the domain name registries and registrars will get FOMO, fear of missing out, and will start exploring how they can introduce Web3 applications to their customer base. Unfortunately, speculators will jump out ahead of actual users. Most of the activity will be speculating around these NFTs, but we're hoping that practical use cases will start to emerge for end users later in 2025.
My name is Todd Hahn, and I am the CEO of Dynadot. The thing that surprised me the most about the domain industry in 2024 is the rise of AI. Everything from the success of the .ai TLD to registrars adding AI into domain suggestion, domain appraisal, into their site builders. It's just amazing to see how much AI has impacted our industry in just a year. And I remember when I got my first email address, which was in the late 90s. And I remember when the web took off in the early 2000s. And I feel like AI is just as big of a megatrend, if not bigger, than those two events. So my prediction for 2025 is that AI will continue to shake up the domain industry, if not the whole world. Thank you.
This is Andrew Miller from Hilco Digital Assets. I'm always happy to be taking part in this with you, Andrew, and with Domain Name Wire. So the thing that most surprised me in 2024 was the continued disparity between what I would say the CEO, founder, or companies, investors that get it when it comes to acquiring their category or defining or their exact match.com domain name, and those that still struggle with understanding how important it is. I would have liked to think that 26 years into this, that would have changed, but it's still the fine line between those who get it and those who don't. For example, we oversaw the sale of Rocket.com this year for a lot of money, $15 million. Chat.com, as many know, two obviously leading companies that get it. But we've had so many conversations with other companies that have a inferior domain name, either a non.com or an extended.com, where they could have their exact match, and they just have not been able to understand the value and the importance despite all the case studies. I do think as far as what will happen in 2025, more and more will start to come around. So moving into what I expect for 2025, I do expect more of these transactions at the highest levels we have ever seen to happen. I do think we will see an epic record kind of domain category defining or exact match transaction this year. And I also think we're going to start to see a resurgence or an importance in .eth names. As someone who has constantly been pretty outspoken against other TLDs, I do think .eth is different because it serves a purpose on the blockchain. It serves a function. And I expect we're going to see some resurgence of that as Bitcoin and crypto and Web3 start to reemerge here. Have a happy holidays and look forward to a big 2025.
Hello, Domain Name Wire. This is Brian Harbin with Grit Brokerage. Surprise in 2024 was the consistent demand and sales volume that we saw every month this past summer. Being an election year, we thought there might be a dry spell at some point leading up to the election, but sales, inquiries, buy requests, and corporate spending was really consistent throughout the year and our busiest year ever at Grit Brokerage. For 2025, we predict to be one of the best years ever in domain sales based on a multitude of factors, including confidence in corporate spending, price of Bitcoin, the stock market, and the continued demand for premium domains. We predict a continued increase in sale prices, not just .com, but also other leading non.com extensions, as well as an expansion in the use of Web3 domains. It's possible that the stock market and other asset prices like real estate, crypto take a hit mid-year with consumer and government debt reaching unsustainable levels, which could affect the overall market. But high-quality domain market will continue to be resilient. We expect there to be an increased focus on security as details of NIS 2 are unveiled and more attention and buzz around the new GTLDs will be released in April of 2026. And lastly, we predict that as more uses of AI are deployed, we'll see a decline in certain industry verticals paired with a new opportunity in other verticals, which will create really a lot of opportunities for domain investors that are closely monitoring the trends. Thank you.
Hi, this is Deepak Daftari. The one thing that surprised me the most in the domain industry in 2024 was the surprisingly large number of 8-figure sales for .coms reported as well as non-reported. And the number of deals that I have heard has really taken me by surprise, because this is the first time that those number of sales have taken place in a single year. Going forward for the year 2025, I see that the crypto profits are going to drive the market into really unseen heights. Good value, good quality, one-word.coms are going to hit the roof. Wholesale auction prices for quality.coms, the prices are going to keep going higher and maybe start touching lower end of the retail pricing. And I also see .ai and .io continuing with the bullish run, but towards the later half of the year, demand might actually get a bit subdued. That's my general predictions for 2025. Wishing you all a very happy New Year and happy holidays for you and your loved ones.
Hi, this is Ryan McKegney, CEO of Domain Agents. 2024 was one of our best years yet, and as we look ahead to 2025, it's shaping up to be an unpredictable ride. On the one hand, as of recording, crypto is surging, which historically signals good news for domain prices. But on the flip side, the US dollar is very strong right now, making high-end domains more expensive for international buyers. That could lead to a rise in demand for country code domains as trade concerns push the emphasis to local markets. With the U.S. election behind us, there's growing optimism that lower taxes and less regulation will fuel a boom in the economy, at least in the first half of 2025. After that, the pressure will be on for results. Outside of the U.S., the picture is much cloudier as potential trade wars, as well as actual wars, are creating high levels of anxiety. On the tech side, AI is set to keep booming. The explosion of AI tools and services will bring us closer to what regular people will come to recognize as Web3. And as we gear up for the next round of new TLDs, it's likely we'll see more attention on them than on blockchain-based names. So what does this all mean? 2025 could be a roller coaster. Hold on tight because the ride ahead promises big twists and turns.
Hi, I'm Michael Rubrock, CEO of Sedo. In 2024, the domain industry remained stable and predictable, with no major surprises. We saw consistent focus on domains tied to AI and technology, along with strong demand for short one-word domains. However, there was some concern around the .io CCDLD, with worries that it might disappear due to geopolitical issues. Many tech companies rely on .io for their brands, so they'll likely start seeking alternatives soon. Cybercrime and security were also significant concerns this year, with rising fraud from fake online stores and misleading QR codes. This emphasizes the need for better education on how domains are crucial to a brand's foundation. We have been addressing this issue and plan to continue our efforts in the future. Looking ahead to 2025, we can expect the domain industry to face significant changes driven by global economic trends. We'll see a greater emphasis on AI, biotech, and health. Plus, with the NIS2 directive enhancing cybersecurity, compliant and trustworthy players will have an edge in the market. Voice search will continue to rise, creating new advertising opportunities, especially for social media and e-commerce. After some restraint in the global economy due to global elections in 2024, activity will ramp up in early 2025. New leadership may create some unpredictability that could affect domain pricing. While traditional CCDLDs and GTLDs will remain popular, we might see a shift towards .ai and .tech as alternatives to .io. Trends in gambling, e-gaming, crypto, biotech, and renewable energy will keep influencing the aftermarket. More large companies will sell unused or no longer used premium and ultra-premium domains from their portfolios. And let's not forget, 2025 marks the 40th anniversary of the domain. That's definitely a milestone worth celebrating in our industry. On behalf of the entire Sedo team, I wish you and your families a happy and peaceful holiday season and a prosperous new year.
This is Braden Pollock. As concerns about the U.S. economic conditions improve, that'll help drive sales. Companies usually open up their pocketbook a little bit wider when they're not concerned so much about the economy. We've seen a big spike in crypto value. That will lead to sales as crypto investors diversify into other digital assets, and that will lead to more crypto companies starting, crypto startups. They'll need domain names. Oftentimes, we see those companies buying .xyz and .org. I've seen some .org sales recently, probably crypto companies, and I expect to see more of that. I also expect to see more .net sales. One more .org and one more .net domains seem to be moving pretty consistently. And of course, as I say, every year, the value of onemore.coms continues to improve. I also say every year, the consolidation of the GTLD space will continue to happen. I don't see that slowing down. And then finally, we're going to see Web 2 domains enter the world of Web 3 with tokenization. And I predict that D3 is going to be leading that charge. And I'd imagine that D3 will also be the company that moves domains to the blockchain. While this is ultimately inevitable, I'd put my money with Fred Hsu and Paul Stahura to actually pull this off. Again, this is Braden Pollock. Happy holidays, everyone.
Hi, this is Kate Buckley, CEO of Defining.com. 2024 saw premium domains becoming more critical than ever for tech innovation and brand strategy. The .ai domain explosion was particularly fascinating as AI transformed from buzzword to business imperative. Lease-to-own and payment plans also gained popularity as means of preserving liquidity while securing key IP. Looking to 2025, I'm bullish on the premium domain aftermarket. We're seeing increased demand for memorable short .coms that can immediately communicate a brand's essence. The post-election landscape will likely trigger significant M&A activity, with forward-thinking organizations recognizing domains as strategic marketing and brand protection tools. The convergence of AI, voice search, and digital branding means simple, memorable domains are no longer a luxury, they're a necessity. We'll see continued innovation in domain leasing and aftermarket strategies, as well as security protocols becoming industry standard. AI-driven tools and the rise of Web3 domains signal potential shifts in how domains are used in decentralized systems as well. This is Kate Buckley of Defining.com wishing you a prosperous and innovative new year.
Hello from Simone Catania, Global Content and Communications Manager at InternetX. According to our Global Domain Report 2024, .com remains the top choice, but saw a slight decline in new registrations. After enjoying over 2 decades of growth, is this a signal of the start of an industry shift? Because meanwhile, new GTLDs grew by 14.7% last year, above all in Asia, and this trend is bound to continue. The industry has been resilient in economic downturns, yet current global uncertainties and inflation are driving up TTLD prices. Market consolidation is changing the scene further, with big fish in the industry acquiring smaller registrars. And finally, in May 2025, ICANN will finalize the applicant guidebook, launching the next new GTLD program. It's going to be a big change that, together with new regulatory developments like NIS2 directive and innovative technology, will shape the domain industry in 2025. Stay tuned as InternetX, together with CEDO, unveil the state and future of the domain industry in our upcoming Global Domain Report 2025.
This is Jeffrey Gabriel, founder and CEO of Saw.com. Despite thinking otherwise from the very beginnings of 2024, this year has proven to be a great one. While it doesn't match the boom times of 2020 and 2021, fueled by abundant startup and venture funding, we've achieved over a 10% increase in our number of domains sold and have surpassed our 2023 revenue. Looking at the industry as a whole, I anticipate further consolidation among companies. This includes low-cost registrars or sales platforms, as well as registries that might be joining forces or merging to pool resources as they prepare for the next round of domain extension applications in 2.5 years. I remain consistently bullish on domains and the industry at large. Over my 15 years in this business, I've witnessed challenges in other sectors. Yet even during short-term downturns, the domain industry has shown a remarkable ability to deliver steady results and always find a way to bounce back. The declining interest in .NET domains has been surprising, though, and buyers just don't seem interested as they once were before. Similarly, interest in .co domains has continued to decline as well. On the other hand, our sales of .ai domains now outpace .net and .co combined. I can only see this extension continuing to grow. However, in B2C applications, it still raises questions. The average consumer seems to place more trust in .net, which continues to hold a strong reputation despite the rising prominence of .ai. It will certainly be interesting to see how this plays out over time. From all of us at Saw.com, we hope you have a great holiday and a prosperous 25.
Hi, and happy 2025. This is Tessa Holcomb, founder of Domain Advisors. In 2024, while we successfully represented domain owners in selling several premium names and revenue-generating portfolios, much of our focus was on handling some of the most challenging and high-value acquisitions of my career. These are specific names requested by clients that are incredibly difficult to secure. While many deals do close, I believe there are a lot of domain owners out there who miss out on significant sales by overcomplicating the process. When buyers present strong offers within fair market value range, they expect clear pricing or reasonable counteroffer. Instead, responses like, "Come back with your best offer," without any pricing guidance, or worse, no response at all, often cause serious buyers and companies to lose interest and move on. My prediction for 2025 is that the demand for portfolios and brandable.coms will get even stronger, and I hope domain owners will be more open to providing prices or at least responding to reasonable offers. I also anticipate more record-breaking sales in key sectors like crypto, gaming, and AI as these industries continue to grow. Thank you, and here's to a successful and prosperous year ahead for all of us.
All right, there you have it. That was predictions from 22 people on what would happen in 2025. Who got it right and who missed the mark? I'll let you be the judge. And stay tuned in about a month for our 2026 predictions episode. That's a wrap on this week's Domain Name Wire podcast. You can listen to all previous episodes at dnw.com/podcast or on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening.